It's 6 a.m., but I have finally arrived to my home in Israel.
Naz Daily recently put a post on Facebook encouraging people to repeat after him that Jews and Arabs can be friends. Jews and Arabs can be friends. It sounds like a positive message, but it's quite a strange choice of language. Jews and Arabs. What is a Jew? What is an Arab? I thought Jewish people were followers of a religion and Arabs were people that speak a certain language. I mean, Arabs are not really a race, are they? There's black Arabs, there's very fair-skinned Arabs and everything in between. So how can you conflate a language group, people that speak a language, with people that follow a certain religion? Jewish people follow Judaism, don't they? Well, you can be a secular Jew, someone of a Jewish background who still embraces that as an identity, and that's probably quite common amongst the Jewish population. But could you be Jewish and Arab? Certainly you can, and there are Jewish communities remaining in places like Yemen, places like Morocco, and historically there were thriving Jewish communities in Iraq, in Syria, in parts of North Africa, and these Jewish people spoke Arabic in the same way that the Christian people in those countries spoke Arabic, just as the Muslim people in those countries spoke Arabic. So Jews from Yemen, Jews from Iraq, Jews from Syria are Arab, aren't they? So it's stupid to say Jews and Arabs can be friends, when really we should be saying Jews can be Arabs. Arabs can be Jews. To look at the Palestine conflict, we can't characterize this as Jews versus Arabs, because many of the Jews in Israel are of an Arab background, and I've seen footage of Yemenite Jews in Israel sitting around smoking shisha, singing Arabic songs, retaining their Arabic heritage and identity. So it isn't Arab versus Jew. It isn't Jew versus Muslim, because many of the Palestinians are Christian, and historically many Palestinians were Jewish, and the Jews in that region who were indigenous to that region have now very sadly embraced the new identity exclusively and dismissed their Arab and Palestinian roots. But historically there were Jewish Palestinians, and even Golda Meir, who denied the existence of Palestinians, did actually acknowledge that she was born prior to 1948 in the land of Palestine. So in that sense, what else was she other than a Jewish Palestinian? So we can't call it a Jewish versus Palestinian conflict, and Naz Daily illustrates the point that he is a Palestinian Israeli. 20% of Israeli citizens are so-called Arab Israelis, but it's great to hear Naz Daily use the expression, use the term and the identity, a Palestinian Israeli. He is of an Arab background, and he is just as Palestinian as a Palestinian born in the Gaza Strip or born in the West Bank, but he has certain privileges that come with having Israeli identity, and I think a lot of people would agree he has become something of an apologist for what Israel have been doing in the West Bank, in East Jerusalem, in Gaza, and also something of a normalizer, because he's trying to promote this idea that, oh yes, we can be friends, and if we're all friends, all the problems will just go away. But the illegal occupation of Palestinian land won't go away. The ethnic cleansing won't go away, and the project to drive out the Palestinians and to evict them from places like Sheikh Jarrah. I mean, that's the most famous one at the moment, but you know, the list of places that Palestinians have been pushed out of goes on. It is an ongoing process, and if he is normalizing that by saying, "Oh, can't we all just be friends and sit around and sing Kumbaya?" then you're actually facilitating the occupation. And now that Human Rights Watch has come out and used this word apartheid, which we all remember from South Africa, it's going to be very difficult to get away with this anymore. And if at the height of apartheid South Africa, a black public figure had stepped forward and said, "Oh, can't we all just sit together and blacks and whites can be friends?" people would have rightly said, "Well, hang on a minute, you're living as second-class citizens, so how can you talk about being friends when you haven't established equality yet?" And that's what the Palestinians are fighting for. That's part of what they are fighting for. So, on the one hand, whilst I'm glad to hear someone like Naz Daily utter the word Palestinian and describe himself as such, I'm also wary about the normalization that comes with that. And it's all very well for him living within Israel as a Palestinian Israeli, as he now describes himself, but why are the Palestinians living in Sheikh Jarrah in East Jerusalem, which has been annexed now, which has been occupied since 1967, why are they not now Palestinian Israelis? If Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, which Donald Trump thinks it is, if that is now meant to be part of Israel, why are the people living there not being given citizenship of this country that wants the land that they're living on but doesn't want them? Why are they not being given that citizenship? Instead, they're being evicted and their house is being taken by a settler who says on camera, "If I don't steal it, someone else will," actually acknowledging the crime that is happening. But diffusion of responsibility means that, well, if I don't do it, someone else will, so what? It doesn't matter. So it's all very well saying Arabs and Jews can be friends, even though I don't agree with that terminology. They're already neighbours. Why can't they be equal neighbours? If you get equality, then you'll have friendship. And then maybe the Jewish people living in Israel, Palestine, whether it's in the settlements or in Haifa or Jaffa or any of the towns or villages where Palestinians were expelled from, maybe the Jewish people living there who have Arab heritage, who still eat hummus, who still remember the Iraqi and Yemeni songs of their grandparents, maybe they will start to see a commonality between them and their Arab neighbours, and a shared heritage and a shared identity, because they're living in the same space. And the reality on the ground is, forget the two-state solution, there is one state that is occupying and controlling the whole of the land in its entirety. And it's time to give everyone who lives in that land, regardless of their ethno-religious linguistic background, an equal say in what happens there and how the country is run. But I would love to see the Jewish people that live there, who have an Arab heritage, rediscover it and embrace it, and really acknowledge the Arab Palestinians as their distant cousins, ethnically and linguistically. Anyway, let me know what you think. And we're going to do a little Naz Daily bit here. And I don't want you to say Arabs and Jews can be friends. We're not going to repeat after me, Arabs and Jews can be friends. We're just going to acknowledge that Arabs can be Jews and Jews can be Arabs. Thank you for watching.